Some good practice session to start it.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How
Hi,
are you?
gentlemen.
Hello, Amir.
How you doing?
Yes.
Look at $1 million. It was a little bit of an issue because we had somebody jump down to our Zoom session. I was able to reach Linda, get the bailout on it. So I'm sure Andrea is about to.
Hello. You're breaking up a little bit.
I'm breaking up.
You're coming in clear from me, Jory. I don't know.
It looks like he's having a. Looks like
Yeah.
difficulty.
Okay, so
What's my bar tech support?
That's me, Andrea.
Okay, I got Linda on the phone. I was able to get her to bail out. It says you just need to. Looks
Thank
like
you, Jory.
help them reconnect
Okay, great.
and have Derek connect. Amir, you back?
Hey, Amir.
Yeah, everyone can hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah, you froze up there for a moment, which I guess is,
You sound great, though, right now. Hey, Amir, this is Andrea. You don't see me, but thanks.
Okay, it's freezing a little bit for me, but
you're okay. I think we got you.
freezing a little bit for me. I don't know if you're getting the same thing on your end.
And maybe just your local connection. Are you on Wi-Fi?
Okay, we have.
Amir, if you can hear us, I would just turn off your video cam for now. Just to see.
Can you hear us, Amir?
Yeah, I can hear you better. I just switched wireless. I don't know if this is better.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like we're all good.
Okay, great. So we already have two people, two attendees joined. So we'll be getting started in a few minutes. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, let me just, don't light it up. Let me find Derek. So give me a moment.
Thanks again, Amir, for doing this. Appreciate it. How was your holiday?
It was good. It was nice. Too quick.
Yeah, I know.
And I happen not to love when they fall on the weekends because we're closed here and I like having my Sundays. So.
Absolutely.
Hey, Derek.
Hey guys.
Thanks for joining.
Take your mask off, I think. I don't know.
Huh? You know what? I didn't even realize I was wearing it.
It's that comfortable.
It's that comfortable. It's a premium mask, a Mylar mask. I could lose the mask if you want. If you think it's like hokey.
Yeah, it's easier to see what you're saying. Some people read lips and stuff.
Yeah.
We actually have 5 people now in the attendee view. So thank you for those who've joined. We'll be starting momentarily.
Right.
Hey Amir.
Hey, what's going on, Derek? What's doing?
No hat today.
We're just going to talk like we're hanging out in someone's basement. Little comfortable thing.
I know, that's why I was no hat today for Amir.
Yeah, I'm in my office here, just hanging out.
Cool. Love it. Cool.
Welcome, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a couple short minutes. Thank you so much for joining.
And just let me know if we're good here. I swap, all right? How's that look, guys?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
How many people registered for this, by the way?
Like 17?
Yeah,
Something
we
like
have
that.
close to 20.
Huh?
Okay.
And that doesn't include Orly, who I know is watching and stuff.
Yeah, she asked me if she could come on.
Tell her no. You tell her no? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, Jory.
Okay.
We're just gonna wait.
You can hear me?
Yes, you're coming in loud and
I can
clear.
hear you.
Amir can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
All right, I think that, well, it's only, what is it, 12:27 at the time?
12:29. We should give it a couple more minutes in case anybody dials in
Yeah.
a little later. We'll get started.
Okay.
A couple minutes.
That was so funny with Linda. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That was great. The day is nice out. This window's gotta be cleaned.
No, it's just that gray outside today.
It's nice out. It is nice.
It's warm.
It's always sunny in Bayonne.
We're just gonna wait a minute or two just for any late stragglers, and then we will jump right in.
So, oh, it's 12:31 already.
All right, let's get started.
Yes,
Welcome,
absolutely.
Let's do it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to get started. We have reserved about 45 minutes for today's session. We'll be discussing how modern business intelligence tools like Power BI can significantly place your business ahead of the game when it comes to data analytics. We do have a large turnout for today, so all lines have been placed on mute, but we will be leaving room for a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to chat any questions you have in the chat box right on your screen below. We want today's session to be as interactive as possible, so we're excited to get your questions. Without further ado, I will pass it to our Vice President at MyBar, the Chief Software Analyst at the Business Software Education Center, and of course, our host for today, Jory Weissman. Please take us away.
Thanks so much, Maria. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Welcome. We're very excited about today's presentation about modern business analytics for the new economy and enabling your fast track to recovery and growth. We're very excited today to have a couple of guests, panelists with us today. Amir Bedmarsh from Keiko. He is the corporate controller there. Hello, Amir. Welcome. And
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me, Jory.
Great, great. And also joining us today is our associate, Derek Nakamo. Derek heads up our Power BI practice. And before we get into some formal introductions of the team, today's agenda, we're going to focus on a couple of key things. What we like to call the culture of data. We'll explore the evolution of data, especially in small businesses and mid-market organizations, and how it has evolved, and being able to harness that data to a strategic business advantage is becoming so critical. We're going to focus today also on Amir's journey and how he has helped take Keiko through this process of evolution, landing on the Power BI solution, and how it has evolved within his organization and in his own process. And of course, we'll be looking at some insights within Power BI, talking about specific projects that we've worked on. We'll have today an interactive discussion with Amir and with Derek, so hopefully we can pass along their insight and give everybody some knowledge. As I mentioned, our panelists, Amir and Derek, they've worked closely together. And you'll look at Derek's photo there, and you'll see that he has a COVID beard growing when we have him. Yeah, Derek has led our BI practice and really took us into the whole Microsoft Power Apps platform. And Derek, it's been a great journey, and I know you and Amir have worked very, very closely
Absolutely.
together. So we're excited to have you both today.
Thank you.
Great. One thing that I thought was really interesting to point out is I love this particular quote because for those who do not recognize the gentleman depicted here, that is Satya Nadella. He is the CEO of Microsoft, and even casual observers of them as a company recognize that they have experienced some significant growth of late, really transforming the company into a new growth story. And they've done that by business process transformation and cloud enablement. And what they have done around the development of the Microsoft Office ecosystem, including products like Power BI, has really been tremendous. And what he points out here is really akin to our own philosophy, is that every company has to stop thinking of themselves as a technology company and as a software company. It's not enough just to buy the products and the solutions, but it's really about to immerse yourself in that culture of digital transformation, if you will, that culture of data. So just thought it was noteworthy to point out that really it is driving the ability for the mid-market and smaller businesses to be able to adapt these technologies. And of course, the reason for that is the world of data is changing. And from this particular slide, I think a couple of points that I felt were noteworthy is the fact that there has been or will be a 10-fold increase every 5 years in the amount of data that is being stored, and that every adult has on average 4.3 connected devices, which is staggering. So there is a tremendous amount of data, some of which we're contributing, some of which we're harvesting on our own, but businesses and users are creating a treasure trove of information, and those types of businesses that can harness that information are certainly going to be advantaged over their peers who do not. And it's really not just for big businesses. What we do at the Business Software Education Center is we're involved in helping small and mid-market organizations to realize their potential and expand their digital footprint. So what we did is we put out a survey of about 1,000 businesses across the US and got input from the executives about what their strategic initiatives are and where they're focusing their time, attention, and dollars. And no surprise, analytics, dashboards, and advanced reporting is considered to be the #1 response category. And if you compound that with the notion of the digital transformation, cloud adoption and migration, and artificial intelligence, all of which could be subsumed under the same category, the numbers of organizations like you in attendance today that are focused on these processes and tools are really quite staggering. We just thought that was a very worthwhile thing to point out. And of course, how is that being spread out? Microsoft, as we talked about, is being a key driver. And we think about the Office 365 and Dynamics 365 landscape is basically a combination of several tools. Power Apps being one to help capture data in an efficient way. Microsoft Flow being able to connect all that information. And of course, Power BI being the analytic and presentation layer where we're going to focus today. But this Power Platform has really made it affordable for smaller businesses at approximately $10 per user per month. The licensing is far lower than what had previously existed in the marketplace. And they're doing it really with 4 concentric circles of functionality. One being agility, the ability to slice and dice, and we're going to spend some time with Amir today and with Derek about how they've been able to leverage some of the native tools that are really built on the principles of Microsoft Excel and making this an extraordinarily agile platform for rapid development and certainly creating end user agility, which was often lacking from some of the other methodologies. The fact that it's mobile with 4.3 connected devices per adult, we must assume at least 50 to 60% of those are going to be of the mobile variety. So Microsoft enabled the mobile user to be able to gain access and insights to their business information no matter where they are. And the fact that it's social, being able to interact and share that information in a community of users. An executive noting a particular value on a visualization and sharing that with sales management, et cetera, being able to share that information seamlessly through the other Microsoft tools is a key component. And of course, the low cost that I cited previously. And all of this is really a key differentiator and certainly empowering the process. And doing this, it's not just about aggregating business information, the traditional, what we'll call ERP or business process. Today, organizations have silos of data that exist in multiple areas, right? It could exist in your WMS system, it could exist in your CRM system or your e-commerce platform, as well as your ERP or financial management systems. And what Power BI with the Flow utility that we spoke about earlier really enables the aggregation of this information, the unification of the data. We'll spend some time again with the two gentlemen here to talk about that. But what's exciting about this is that we can take this siloed information, and even I noted cloud services here, being able to take information that's available to cross-reference our own data. And using some of the resources that the Azure cloud brings to the table to help create a much more enriched experience, so that consumerization of that data that we spoke about earlier, what's being contributed willingly by the masses, really becomes a tool that is at your disposal. We'd really like to focus there as well. And finally, before we get into some of the panel discussion, which I know is really the highlight today, so I promised this, so we'll wrap this up kind of quickly. We really want to talk about the journey to a unified reporting system, because I think what a lot of people don't recognize is, where does this fit in within the mosaic of reporting? And I know we'll talk with Amir shortly about how, initially it was all about getting the ERP reports and some of the challenges that presents, and the cumbersome nature of dealing with that just made it very, very challenging. And as their business grows and they become transactionally more intensive, then it just puts more and more strain on that type of reporting engine. And then, of course, the world years ago went to Crystal reports, and that was supposed to be the cure-all, but it really, from common use, while it did have tremendous market penetration, it was often relegated to the world of IT resources. You couldn't have users doing the things that we talked about today with respect to agility that the panel will talk about, in terms of being able to slice and dice and interact like you could with Excel, which was also part of the journey, right? If your business management system could export to Excel, well, that's great, but you end up with multiple versions of the truth. It's hard to reconcile and coordinate that information into a consolidated single version of the truth. So while agile and flexible, more so than Crystal, certainly presented its challenges. And you can see as you go on the path, we ultimately arrived at more complex data warehouses that tended to be very, very costly, on-premise systems costing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement properly, and ultimately landing at Power BI, which really harnesses the power and the best of all of these things, and harnesses the power in one relatively low-cost solution. And Amir, I'd like to, this is a great jumping off point for our conversation today. And I know, having worked with you, that there was a lot of frustration about some of the ERP reporting. Maybe you can share with us some of the challenges that you had experienced early on, and why you said, hey, I got to get something better here.
Sure. So I've been working at my current position and with MyBar for about 4+ years at this point. And in terms of the size of the company, we're probably almost double what we are right now than when I first started here. And when we first started, as Jory said, it was kind of all ERP focused. That's all we used. That's all we had. We focused a lot of our time and our resources on just building out reports. It wasn't easy. And as Jory's wallet got bigger, he can tell you it's very expensive. Anytime anyone wanted to see anything specific, it was creating a new visualization, a new report, a new way to filter a report, a new way to run a report. And as we got bigger and as the data got larger, you're talking about millions and millions of line items, and it just became impossible to manage. It was the only way that we had data. It was the only way to run data. And even if you were at a computer sitting in your desk all day, it still took time. It still took energy. It was still frustrating, let alone, as you know, right, we are a food distributor. We have some people in the office, some people managing people, some people hybrid. A ton of our staff are out on the road. For them, they didn't even have the ability to run reports from an ERP on a daily basis. It was incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And then, of course, you lose some of the agility because you said, hey, I want a new filter, I want a new slicer, seemingly easy things. And, it just took time, and the urgency and the immediacy was just gone. And so, we went multiple ways to try to solve this. I know we moved initially then into some Excel and some data connected Excel, which helped a bit, leveraging some of your experience there. But I know that presented some challenges. Maybe you can talk about the difficulty, or just using Excel in general as a centralized reporting tool that a lot of people in the audience today are probably doing.
Sure. Nobody here loves Excel as much as I do, right? In the words of President Trump, nobody loves Excel more than me. I use it all day. It has so many things it can do, but we initially started with a data connected spreadsheet, and just with a vast amount of data, it was literally impossible to manage. It was trying to pull millions of line items. There were times where I knew I had to get something, and it was, hey, let me, make a change in the Excel now, and then I'll go and I'll run and I'll get a coffee, and by the time I come back, maybe my computer won't be frozen anymore. It took a lot of time, and then even then, once I got what I needed, it was essentially just emailing out Excel spreadsheets to people, letting them play with a little bit of that then, but there was no way of sharing the back end with them. There was no way managers or salesmen had the ability or the time or the patience to sit there. It was better than what we had because you could play with it, and anybody here who uses pivot tables knows that there's nothing that can replace that. But it was impossible with the time and with the energy and with the amount of bandwidth that it took up.
And plus the inaccuracy. I know one of the things I speak with Derek a lot about, and he's a big advocate of having a unified version of the truth and establishing the foundation. And it's key. You need those core ERP reports to benchmark against to make sure that the data set that's in your BI solution is valid, and ERP reporting has its place. But so we went through this journey and then ultimately landed on Power BI. And I think it's a point to bring Derek into the conversation in that with respect to BI, he often talks about the journey within the journey, right? So we've landed on BI. We know we need a great solution to be able to deliver this, but what your BI visualizations look like today and the scope that has evolved is certainly not where it started. Derek, maybe you can talk about your thoughts on that journey within the journey, as we like to say.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously the natural jumping off point was, let's take the data that we have in our standard sales reports, sales year to date, comparatives, and bring that into Power BI, right? So that was basically step one for Amir and Keiko's journey. But beyond everything that Amir's already articulated, I think the most exciting thing about Power BI is it really is a powerful analytics engine. So what that means is we could start to ask questions that we never had the ability to answer in a standard ERP report writer. So yes, Power BI is going to give flexibility in terms of filters and drop downs and creating that dynamic interactive experience. But again, we started just sales data. How many things did we sell this year? How many things did we sell last year, right? But then, just thinking about Amir's business, and so they're in the kosher food, kosher wine. And one of the unique challenges that they've always faced was, how do we do comparative sales analysis, not on a year-to-date basis, not on a date range, but the Hebrew calendar, holiday A, is on a totally different set of dates this year than it was last year. So that was a question they never even thought to approach with more of the old school. And on BI, we were just able to model the data with the existing model that we had, and really take this framework of core sales data, and now we can see how Passover 2020 compared to Passover 2019, and that's it's game changing as far as I'm concerned.
And even beyond that, I know you like to talk about the immersive experience, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But as we talk about that journey process, I know one of the things, Amir, that you brought to the table is we've evolved and created this immersive process within the sales analytics, but you expanded the scope beyond sales functionality. I think you brought in some operational metrics. I think you brought in some financial board metrics, things like that. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about some of the other areas beyond the traditional things that some of the people think today in attendance today might just think about, hey, is this just another sales analysis tool? But it really goes beyond that in dealing with other areas.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't want to gloss over how important the sales analysis was for us. I still remember when we first started, we run this at our slow season towards the end of the year. We run this annual, salesman incentive program. And I remember the first year, every week, Monday morning, I used to have salesmen emailing me out. When am I sending data? When am I sending data? They literally just didn't know the sales numbers. They didn't have them in the palm of their hands. And now they're all, asking me questions based on, data that they're seeing live of, did I ever sell this to that customer? Can you check in this? Can you check that? Because they have it in front of me. It actually created more work for me because now they can see who they're selling, what they're selling, if something's wrong, if something's right. So I don't gloss over that. But back to Jory's point, so for years now, we've had this monthly report that we do. That's basically, a State of the Union every month. It goes out to all of, our higher ups, the board members and the owners. And it really, if this were in the wrong hands, it would be very, very bad for our business. It's essentially our entire business in one report. And this used to be, there was someone here, Sophia, and she spent at least a day out of her month putting this together every single month. A full day, that's how long it took her to do. We decided we're gonna see if we can work with Derek, move it over towards Power BI. We created this unbelievable report that not only does what we were having someone spend the full day on, but it does significantly more. It allows us to view things that we never had visibility to before. And I just sign on the first of every single month, and it's already there. It's done. 8 a.m. in the morning, it's in their hands instead of having someone do it all day and then have it be looked at, and then we come back with questions, and this is right and this is wrong. It simplified the entire process. That was great for us. Right. We also helped with our AR. We essentially we moved a lot of our aging and collections from our ERP reports to a Power BI report, and that was something really helpful where we were able to tie the two systems together, create managers where every single day they could log in, see how they're doing with the, and again, we're talking about interactive. So if someone wants to look at a specific channel, or how are we doing with a specific, zip code, or how are we doing with, a specific salesman, it's so easy to get the information. And as soon as, one of the things that, Derek pointed out is just the interactive, abilities of it and how dynamic it is. You can really kind of go down a rabbit hole where you start to notice certain trends that you never would have done with just reports, because all of a sudden you notice something, you click on it, and then that takes you to a different tab where all of a sudden you're focusing on something else, then you're changing to look at, a certain section, then a certain channel. So it helped us there. We're also using it for a fill rate reports for, our buyers. So we really found a few different areas outside of just sales reporting that we found it incredibly useful.
That's just great insight. And, you spoke about speed relative to Excel, and, certainly you made the comment, go out, get a cup of coffee, come back 15 minutes later. Hopefully you had enough resources on your local PC so the query didn't fail when we were actually directly attached and all that stuff that goes along with it. You mentioned millions of rows of data. Performance-wise, right? I know that you've got consumers of this information on handhelds, on tablets. What's their experience like? Functional? Talk to us about speed and what users can expect.
Yeah, the speed is really great. So, I mean, Derek can speak more on the back end of this, but essentially, it kind of grabs the data for us. We decided twice a day, which means every time, you're looking for new information, it's not going into the system and trying to read every single line from every invoice everywhere. It's already got it in a database. It's incredibly fast. It works well on the mobile device. Obviously, like every other tool, right? I would say it's certainly easier on a desktop, and on a tablet, it's, a little less easy. And on a mobile device, as you get smaller and smaller, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but it is very easy. And as, Derek said, they've made a lot of updates over time that have made it easier. So for example, they added, this was probably a year ago, maybe or something, this concept called Bookmarks, where you could essentially save certain queries. So as you're playing around with the data, if you want to save a bookmark, if I want to look at, stores from these 4 salesmen only, and this channel only, and I'm only looking at the following 6 brands, you can save it so you can quickly go back to it every time. That was a really nice addition that, again, especially on the mobile device where it's harder to start clicking and changing, especially as you have a lot to check and a lot to go through. It makes it very easy to use, very easy to manipulate. And, we're talking about it now. And there's plenty of tools online and, teachings and other YouTube videos I'm sure you could watch. Just so everyone knows, I watched none of them. because it's very intuitive. All you have to do is play around. And again, all the data is flowing one way. And I get this question a lot from salesmen at the beginning of, I don't want to screw something up. And I literally tell them there's nothing to screw up. Play around. There's one button to reset everything to how it was. You can't do anything. All you can do is have fun. All you can do is discover things there. It's really very simple, very intuitive to use.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that is just critical to the platform. So we work with various technology platforms. I have never seen a more committed team in the Power BI team to their consistency with delivering monthly updates. They are investing into this platform.
Like Microsoft themselves.
Microsoft themselves, right? Every month, it's like Christmas time or Hanukkah time, except you get to go every month and we get to see all the new toys we have to play with, and it's really remarkable. The second point is Amir got to it before I did. What was amazing is that I was going to go to Amir and be like, hey, there's this new thing called Bookmarks. And he's like, no, I'm already on it. He beat me to it. And it was such an exciting moment to see. It was like he's owning the platform, and it was incredible.
Well, that strikes to the community nature of it. And we talk about the cloud technologies, right? And we think about the evolution of software from the on-prem world to the cloud world. And it's just taking that whole, the issue of what ERP reports or crystal reports and moving it to the cloud, the continual flow of updates. And, we started our journey really early on with Power BI. We were attracted to it as a Microsoft shop. But version 1.0, wasn't the greatest thing. And to his credit, Amir kind of hung with it. It was not readily accepted by the organization because it didn't have all the mobile appendages. It didn't have all that great functionality. But we kind of kept that as a separate little project. We put a little time to it, and the technology caught up, and it's just accelerating tremendously. So as you think about cloud adoption in general, it facilitates continual improvement with the software, and it's seamless. We don't see any interruption in the visualizations that you've invested time and energy in. Amir, I know you could speak to it, and certainly you can, Derek. And I do want to circle back to Amir's point about speed and data, and you can talk about the update frequencies, because I think that might be everybody's mind. But certainly as you go through the process, having that continual flow of information, a continual update, I mean, there's just nothing like it. Talk to us about data. Talk to us about back-end technology, speed. Let's go there for a minute.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to talk about what's fascinating besides the technology, right? So, the difference between Excel and the slowness that Amir described versus what is happening now is this is all in the cloud, right? So you're leveraging the computing power of Microsoft's cloud. That is effectively the biggest game changer between Excel and Power BI. I want to take it a step further and talk about the ability to mash our data sources as well, right? So Amir and his team, they also use users of Dynamics 365, right? So they have an item catalog on Dynamics 365. They have their item data in their ERP, their SQL database. But there were certain elements of their data on their Dynamics 365 platform that they wanted to tie together. And literally within under an hour, we were able to take their item data set from Dynamics 365, merge it to their ERP data to the end user. It would have been imperceptible. And we offered, probably 40 new attributes that a user could then, slice and dice their attributes by. And that's just one example, low-hanging fruit of how we were able to mash up data from multiple systems seamlessly and make them available on this powerful backend. And going back to your original point at the beginning of data warehousing and how expensive data warehousing is, this is effectively a data warehouse, right? You have all the scale of the data warehouse, except it's available from Microsoft for $9.99 a month per user.
And really just to highlight, the definition of a data warehouse is really how the data is organized, right? So if you think about, they talk about the denormalization of the data. So the data that's structured in your business management software, your CRM software, even your e-commerce software is really optimized for business process. But the data that resides in the data warehouse really needs to be transformed and optimized into a format that's going to facilitate what they'll call cubing up of the information. pre-calculating some of the important metrics so that as we refresh the data, in their case, I think Amir mentioned 2 times per day. I think Microsoft allows you to do it up to 7 or 8 times a day. And making these incremental updates, but having the data in a true traditional data warehouse format really strikes to the speed, so that as you take these millions of rows of data and say, hey, I want to slice by this brand or this group, or as Amir pointed out, those 4 or 5 salesmen, the response time is really within seconds, never minutes, right? It's moments for this information to be displayed. And I don't know if you could expand on that a little bit more, or anything else to add to that, but real computing power there.
Yeah, and just in terms of speed, and you're talking about data refresh. So, we started out with Amir at 2 a day, right? That was where we started. So behind the scenes, we've been ratcheting that up. So we are actually refreshing 8 times per day now. And it's happening on an incremental basis. And what's incredible is if you think about, there's probably maybe 40, 50 million rows of data that we're trying to refresh. And it takes about 2 minutes to refresh. It's just incredible. Right. So
refresh, that's not user execution.
That's not even the interactivity. That is just give my data warehouse fresh data, 2 minutes. So, throughout the day, a sales rep could not just track what have I done in the past, but what have I done today?
So it's a process, and it's not all wine and roses. Obviously, it's a phenomenal tool as we're talking about. But Amir, maybe you can talk to the group here about cautionary notes about the journey, about expectations. What should they be thinking about? Where should they have a degree of patience? And I know that end users can modify some of these visualizations. I know you can introduce new slicers as you need to ad hoc, but more robust endeavors, you're going to work with a resource and professional. Hopefully, building in enough within the database to be able to give you the ultimate flexibility, and that's really the goal. But maybe you can share with us some of the cautionary notes, some of the things you think that a consumer should want to be thinking about as they plan for their journey with Power BI.
Sure. The first one, which comes up a lot actually, and I mean, this is kind of obvious, but I'll say it anyways, is it's absolutely garbage in, garbage out. The nice part about a platform like this is that everybody can see data so easily. The frustrating and difficult part is that everybody can see data so easily and so quickly. The number of times people say, hey, this customer is, in the wrong channel in Power BI, or this item is in the wrong category in Power BI. And, I have to tell them it's not Power BI. Power BI doesn't make those decisions. Everything's coming from our ERP. So, a lot of times the difficulty is there are all these ways people can see data that they either weren't able to see before, or just didn't have the time or patience or ability to run those reports in whatever ERP you're using. And you just have to be very careful to get your ducks in a row now, because all of a sudden people are making decisions based on new data that they weren't able to focus on before. And first and foremost, you got to make sure that data is right. Because, for us, let's say we added a slicer based on category, which is there's actually no way to run a report on category in our ERP even. Because that was something new that we added to only after really we started with Power BI. And if something's wrong there and someone makes a decision, it's going to be because, what's coming from your ERP is wrong, and what, your data is wrong. So you really got to be careful before you give everyone the ability to see everything, to make sure everything's right, make sure it's categorized right, make sure people are making the right decisions based on the data that they're now having for the first time.
That's good advice. It's about having that benchmark foundation to revert back to. And I know that you spent the time, and I guess what you're suggesting here is people need to do that, to vet that information, so that then when you do go on that journey, the data points are accurate and can continue to be accurate going forward. Do you do occasional spot checks against the data, against your originating ERP documents? Or are you satisfied that once you hit that foundation, that all goes forward well?
Overall, we do a little bit here and there, but honestly, a lot of that just comes by itself, where, someone asks a question based on information that they're seeing, you have to go back to it. We don't find a lot of major issues, once it was all set up. And, again, there's certain metrics that, would stand out to us pretty obviously if they were completely wrong. But a lot of that is, at the beginning, we definitely had some issues and we had to go back and forth with Derek. This is years ago already where, this isn't matching this report, this is wrong, this is right. And we still get it every so often. But a lot of that just happens naturally now with more people using it, more people looking at data. Questions just come up.
Great, yeah. I think about the use and how people visualize. I know you have a team that's, as you pointed out earlier, very mobile. They're using smartphone technology. They're using tablets. Very few people today, especially your sales group, is sitting around at a PC. Other than perhaps management who have that ability to take a larger visualization. But as they've gone around using that type of technology, one of the things I want to talk to Derek about is being able to embed Power BI within other applications, right? Because nobody likes to go to yet another program, right? And even if it's just a quick app, you go to your smartphone today, there's 8, 10, 12 different apps you're in and out every day, and really you can keep it running in state in the background and you can do it. But a lot of times people want to embed Power BI within their core infrastructure or other applications. One of the ERP solutions we work with called Acumatica facilitates bringing Power BI visualizations there. But Derek, perhaps you can just share with us a bit about how that technology can be blended and how you can combine these things.
Yeah, for sure. So as a platform, Power BI does support both internal and external distribution of the data. I think that the best example of that is as the world kind of changed it at the middle of March. There was a shift towards Microsoft Teams and everyone was on Teams. And one of the coolest things that we like to use with Teams is now we have our own Power BI reports. We're consumers of it and we distribute that stuff right within the Teams application, right? So I think you're seeing a synergy there between Microsoft and with Power BI and with Teams. And it just makes it so much easier for you to get focused data to a team within the flow of their day without sending them somewhere else. But that's not limited to just internal consumption. So we have Dynamics 365 is a big part of our core competency and the ability to take these Power BI dashboards and visualizations and make them available directly within Dynamics 365, CRM, even the Power Apps. So Power Apps, the Canvas apps as well, and having cross interactivity between them. So the ability to not only embed Power BI within your Power App, but the ability to embed your Power App within Power BI and then have data move from your Power BI report to your Power App. So if I selected a customer on my Power BI report, then I could pass that data to the Power App that's already there and submit a request to follow up with that customer if I didn't like something that I saw.
Take an order or something like that.
Yeah, so it's really, I think I'm answering one question, but I'm also giving an answer to another, which is just the synergy and interactivity of the entire Microsoft platform, as well as the fact that this data does not have to live just in a web browser. It can be distributed many forms and in many ways.
Great. Well, this has been fantastic. We're approaching the end of the session, and I know everybody's got their work to do and continue on with their busy day. And I think we shared a lot of what I hope are good, solid insights to the Power BI platform, to Amir's journey in particular, hopefully as a representation of what most mid-market organizations are really thinking about. Someone in his position as a corporate controller, really being able to manage that information properly. So we don't have a lot of time for Q&A. I think sometimes people, maybe we've answered everybody's questions, not a tremendous number of questions posed, but everybody's hanging in there. So we do have good audience attention and rapt attention to the subject matter, but certainly do reach out to us with any questions for a one-on-one discussion if need be. We try to create a community with our clients and with the rest of you and the prospects out there about BI, and really want to share in the education. It is a journey. We're all learning, and the visualizations we're producing today certainly have evolved tremendously from where we started with version 1.0. And we're so excited about the future with this product, as I'm sure Amir is. And Amir, I don't know if you have any parting thoughts or things you'd like to say. And we're certainly really appreciative of your time today. That's for sure. I think you gave great insight. So thank you for being here. And I'll leave a last word for you if there's anything to add.
Sure. A couple of small things that I don't think were actually mentioned yet that I think is probably worth throwing out there. One is just, in an age where everyone's worried about, data security, both certainly Microsoft is incredibly secure and we feel good about giving them our data, but also from a user perspective, we talked about how easy it is to customize what kind of data can be sent to what user. So for example, if you have a salesman, you can make sure he's only seeing his own data. Certain salesmen are allowed to see, let's say, cost data or profit data. Managers can only see their salesmen, not everybody else. If you're talking about, executives, they can see the whole company. So that is a really nice feature we didn't really get on, that it's not just a platform where you throw all the data and then everyone gets everything, but it is customizable per user, and you can even create feeds if you want, a vendor or a customer to see something. We've given a login to one of our vendors that we have a joint venture with that's really very specific in what he can see, but it allows him to feel up the business and see whatever he wants, play around with the data himself too. That's a really nice feature. And then, as I mentioned, we've grown a lot in the past, and I would say one of the occasions where Power BI was probably most important for us is at the end of the year last year, we purchased Manischewitz, which has a ton of new brands, a ton of new items, new customers. And again, you're trying to integrate millions of dollars of sales to an existing sales team where they don't know the customers, they don't know the items, they don't know the histories. And, working with Jory and Derek, we were essentially able to give them the entire history of all these items they were completely unfamiliar with. And I would say it's probably the only way we really survived all of a sudden a switch over with millions of dollars of new sales was kind of by, giving everybody this history in the palm of their hands. We're on the go. They were able to know what everyone bought, and that was tremendous for us.
Awesome.
Great insight. You mentioned the security aspect, and yes, of course, there's always that concern, and the record level filtering that you can achieve is obviously of critical importance that most people are thinking about. And as we've transitioned to cloud, we're seeing the fact that consumers are really starting to realize the benefits of that in a multitude of ways, right? Because we're not backing up this data warehouse, Microsoft is, right? We're not worried about securing this data warehouse, Microsoft is, and all that expense is borne by them. So really it's about you and the consultant kind of working together, developing your visualizations, thinking about your strategy. And boy, you could see the wheels start to spin and people expand their horizons. It's about creating value over the near term that helps to turn on the light, right? Let everybody see. You raised some great points there. Derek, I don't know if you have any parting thoughts you'd like to share with the team, with the people in attendance today.
Get on Power BI. Let's go. It's fun. It's a fun journey.
Yeah, we do enjoy it. Hopefully that passion for everything comes through, and we'd be excited to assist anybody here with any questions that you may have. Reach out. You see a contact information is displayed here. Submit your questions for us and for Amir, and we'll continue to do this. We have another series of webinars that we're going to continue to do about cloud enablement, and we'll keep you posted. We'll invite you along and help you on this journey. But just want to thank everybody for taking the time today. And once you know it, we're right on time. So that's a good job. And Amir, thanks so much. Excellent. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Happy
Take
Thursday.
care.